Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. Is with the Purdue-Tennessee game. I think you could argue this was maybe the most anticipated Elite Eight game. And I would say for the most part, it largely lived up to expectations. 1 versus 2, Big Ten regular season champ versus SEC regular season champ. I think the 2 leaders for the National Player of the Year in Zach Edey and Dalton Knecht. And we got ourselves, I'll tell you what, we got ourselves a heck of a game, as in that game, if you watched, we know how it ended. But before we get to how it ended, let's go ahead and just talk about, let's just go ahead and talk a little bit about the game, because it really lived up, in my opinion, to expectations. It was a game of runs early. It was a game where Tennessee jumped out to a 32-21 lead. It is a game where Purdue, to its credit, and I know people think I never give Purdue credit for anything, but they battled back. They took the lead. Then we get to halftime. Purdue is up by 1 heading into the second half. And then, unfortunately, a couple things happened. One, they were actually up by 2. It became a great back and forth between 2 of the best players in college basketball, Zach Edey, Dalton Knecht. Zach Edey finishes with 40 points. Dalton Knecht finishes with 36. But it was also a game that was largely marred by the refs, as Purdue finishes the game with 33 total free throws, a plus 22 free throw advantage. But ultimately, Purdue, and people aren't going to believe I'm going to say this, was the deserving winner. Purdue gets the victory. Purdue makes more plays late. Zach Edey made more plays late than Dalton Knecht. And the Purdue Boilermakers are headed to their first Final Four since 1980. And so I want to break down this game. I want to talk about it from all angles. But what I want to say is what I often say on this show. In my opinion, more than one thing about this game can be true. Because obviously, if you're a Tennessee fan, you feel a certain way. If you're a Purdue fan, you feel a certain way. If you're in the middle, you maybe even have a different opinion than that. But in my opinion, there is more than one thing that is true about this game, as Purdue wins this game 72-66. One, I know it's going to sound crazy. I am happy for Purdue fans. Whenever a program that cares about basketball this much has waited this long with this much heartbreak, they deserve their moment. I also do think it's worth noting the refs are not the reason that Purdue won the game. Zach Edey making more plays down the stretch than Dalton Knecht and the Vols is the reason that they won the game. I also do think, however, that Tennessee fans have a legitimate gripe and a legitimate reason to be mad. And I still say, I don't care if I'm on an island. I don't care if every media member in America crushes me. I know what I see. I know what everybody else sees. I know what coaches are texting me during these games. And I'm here to tell you, man, we are now 30 whatever games into the Purdue experience in 2024. And I am here to tell you definitively, the refs still have zero idea how to referee Zach Edey and Purdue. Now, first of all, I said it and I mean it. And it sounds crazy because I've obviously gone back and forth a lot with Purdue fans over the last couple months. I'm happy for Purdue fans. Anytime that you love basketball as much as Purdue fans clearly do, you deserve this moment, and you especially deserve this moment after everything that you have been through as a program, not just this last year, but in your history of your program. I'm not going to get into all of it. It's a day to celebrate when you're Purdue. But you go back to 1994, one of my earliest college basketball memories. I remember being out to dinner with my family. I was, 9 years old. I'm an old man right now, but I was 8, 9 years old at the time. I think it was 8, whatever. Bring it up. You find out that Duke beats Purdue in the regional final. By the way, we saw some great pictures of Tracy Wolfson and Bill Raftery where they were when they were calling that game a few nights ago. But I bring it up because Purdue, as a number 1 seed with Glenn Big Dog Robinson, best player in college basketball, losing the Elite Eight. I guess in 2000, there was an Elite Eight loss to a conference rival that they had previously beaten. We know about the last 3 years, losing to a 13 seed in 2021, losing to a 15 seed in St. Peter's in 2022, losing to a 16 seed in 2023. So I am happy for those fans. I know they're excited. They deserve this moment. And oh, by the way, I know they are going to flood Phoenix this coming week. By the way, you know how I know? Because they're all telling me, Torres, I'm going to be there and I'm going to see you, and you better not. I got some pretty, some pretty wild and pseudo inappropriate DMs from Purdue fans about what they plan on doing to me if they see me in a dark corner. But that's neither here nor there. I understand fans are, whatever. But I bring it up because I am happy for them, and I will say this: Zach Edey, in my opinion, proved that he is the best player in college basketball on Sunday afternoon. Okay, this was a game where I don't think the refereeing was perfect. I'll talk about it in a minute. But the idea that Zach Edey isn't special is ridiculous. And I've been fighting this since last year when they lost to the 16 seed Fairleigh Dickinson a year ago. I remember on social media, on my podcast, I said, look, you can blame Matt Painter for not having his team prepared. You can blame the guards for not being good enough. What you cannot do is blame Zach Edey. This kid is really, really, really good. Yes, he's 7'4". Yes, there's no way to really, truly defend him. But at the end of the day, last year he was good. This year he was better. If you can't see that, I cannot help you, okay? This is a guy that can go over both shoulders. He can hit a jump hook with either hand. He's got a soft touch. He shoots 70% from the free throw line. He has shown that he can step out and hit a three-pointer. This is a guy that's got quick feet, quick hands, doesn't block a ton of shots, but he alters a lot of shots. And no, I don't believe that just because of whatever, that every time something happens in the lane, he commits a foul. He is a very special player. What I will also say, he deserved to win. Purdue deserved to win this game. And he made more plays down the stretch than Dalton Knecht. I thought Dalton Knecht was tired at the end of the game. He had, I think, 12, 14 points in like the first 6-7 minutes of that game, helped Tennessee get that 32 to 21 lead. But I bring it up because down the stretch, I thought Dalton Knecht was tired. There wasn't really that second guy that stepped up. Josiah Jordan-James had a few moments. Zakai Ziegler had a moment or two. But, all you got to do is look at the box score. Tennessee scores 66 points. Dalton Knecht has 37 of them. No one else scores more than 9. Like I said, I thought Josiah Jordan-James hit a few nice shots early in the game. Vescovi's dealing with the flu. And so Purdue deserves to win this game. What I'll also say, though, is I do think, and I hate to say it, but a lot of the fun that we should just be throwing roses at the feet of Purdue fans. But at the same time, we can't, because if you watch these games, they are so tough to watch. They are so exhausting. And I'll go back to what I've said from the beginning. I have never backed down from this stance. I don't care how many people tell me this. I don't care how many Purdue assistant coaches, the SIDs tweeting at me, whatever. The bottom line is you cannot watch these games and believe that they are truly refereed fairly. You just cannot tell me that. Listen, I know fans get mad when you just quote stats from the box scores, and I understand that part of it is he creates a lot of mismatches, that you can't guard him one-on-one. He creates a lot of problems in the paint on defense. But let's just have an adult conversation, okay? Purdue finished this game with 33 foul shots. Tennessee finished with 11. Zach Edey finished with 17 foul shots, and Purdue finished with 11. How about this? Zach Edey drew 10 fouls before he committed a single foul. And the foul that he committed, he basically two-hand shoved somebody out of bounds. So it's like, listen, I get people, Torres, you just don't know ball. I'll be honest, I had like half the national media that wants to be in Matt Painter's corner coming after me today. I don't back off of what I said. I don't think the referees know what to do with them. I've said it from the beginning. I think they are so worried about over-officiating him that they under-officiate him. And all you have to do is look at the stats. If you're a Tennessee fan, you have every right to be furious today. You have every right to be furious today. You played Purdue twice this year. And if you listen to the beginning of the segment, if you're just coming in, I know I'm talking about Tennessee's angle now. I said Purdue deserved to win. But you played Purdue twice this year. Purdue was plus 40 at the free throw line in 2 games. You played them in Maui. They were plus 18. It was somehow worse on Sunday. I'm sorry. That isn't strategy. You can't tell me that Tennessee was that much more physical on one end of the court and not nearly as physical on the other end. And so you can argue with me if you want. You can have all these loser national media members that want access to Matt Painter, Kevin Sweeney, maybe we'll pull up his tweet here in a minute, like called Tennessee fans the village idiots for having the audacity to question him. But before we get to his tweets, like let's just call some stuff out from after the game. First of all, producer Matt, pull up Rick Barnes and what Rick Barnes had to say after this game. Rick Barnes, this is from Wes Rucker. He's covered Tennessee forever, was at the game. Rick Barnes on Zach Edey. He never leaves the paint. It's hard. Let me say this. If something happens where Rick Barnes is the nicest, most wholesome grandpa guy ever. Let me ask you this. Go into this as an unbiased person. Have you ever heard Rick Barnes say anything controversial at all? Have you ever heard him get mad about anything at all? Have you ever heard him question anything at all? Because I'll be honest, I don't think that I have. I've been covering this sport for 15 years. I don't think I've ever seen him mad. So for him to call out the referees about the 3-second stuff, that is insane. And that speaks to where we were on Saturday with Zach Edey. By the way, you know who happened to agree with Rick Barnes? Producer Matt, go ahead and show us what Jimmy Dykes, the ESPN broadcaster, said. He said, when Edey is allowed to be in the lane for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 seconds, he is literally unguardable. It's just a fact. This is a point that I brought up 4 or 5 months ago, and I got killed for. Is again, and this is Jimmy Dykes. And then Jimmy Dykes, I didn't have Matt pull this tweet, but Jimmy Dykes then sent a follow-up tweet where he is called a hater or whatever. And Jimmy Dykes responded by saying, there's nothing biased. It's not my style. Edey is a phenomenal player. Just saying what I've observed and what coaches who have played against him in the past 2 years have told me. Listen, I came on this show 4 or 5 months ago in December, and we talked about this. I said, when I went on my Zach Edey crusade 4, 5, 6 months ago in December, and I was getting killed, and nobody was watching college basketball, and I had no defense. You know the only people that came to my defense? College basketball coaches. I had a lot of texts, not, 30, but it was more than 1 or 2. Some of them were just like, Torres, you're dead ass right. Torres, we love you. Torres, keep fighting the fight. I had one coach who played against him at one point in the season say like, look, the way they refer him, you can't beat him. You just can't beat him. And this was a good coach of a good team. Remember, they played everybody in the preseason, Gonzaga, Tennessee, Arizona, Alabama, whoever. I was somebody from their coaching staff, like we were one of the top 5 talented teams in America. If they referee him like that, we can't beat him. So I'm not saying, and this was the thing that got misconstrued last time of like, oh, Torres, is every game supposed to have even number of fouls? No. But when you're plus 40 in 2 games, when you draw 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 fouls on one end and commit one on the other, it makes no sense. By the way, I didn't even mention, producer Matt, pull up the Nate Oates quote from when they played Alabama in December. This is what Nate Oates said back in December. He said, Zach Edey had 3 fouls. Our front court had 14 fouls, I think. Wagoo and Pringle both fouled out. Grant Nelson and Jaron Stevenson had 2 each. He's obviously hard to guard. When it's officiated the way it was officiated, he's almost impossible. So listen, I want to continue. I want to talk about the other 3 games. I want to talk about UConn. I want to talk about NC State. But when you have other coaches who have coached against him who are like, if you're going to referee him like this, there's nothing we can do. When Rick Barnes, the least controversial human being in the history of human beings, is just saying like, what are we supposed to do? I can't be the crazy one. I can't be the only one. Congrats to Purdue. They deserve this moment. They really do. I know it sounds like I'm crapping on them. I'm not. By the way, Zach Edey was my National Player of the Year. I picked UConn Purdue in the national championship game. So I know that they're great. I know that to Matt Painter's credit, you know what Matt Painter's greatest gift is that he did? He recruited a bunch of shooters around him, and the guys around him now hit, you look at the team that they have, whether it's Braden Smith, whether it's Lance Jones, whether it's whoever, that's really what makes them essentially impossible. It's not just Zach Edey. It's that when you look at the guys around him on the season, Purdue is a 41% three-point shooting team. Braden Smith shoots 44%. Fletcher Lawyer shoots 45%. Mason Gillis shoots 48%. So you try to double, triple team. The point I'm trying to make is that this isn't a knock on him, but we have to have an honest conversation. And I feel like I am the only one that is willing to have an honest conversation. So that is that. Congrats to Purdue. First Final Four since 1980. I am happy for Purdue fans. I'll see a lot of you there. I'll bring security, I guess, because there's nothing else to say. Congrats to Purdue fans.